ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brand new edition of the Rowdy Rasslin Roundup. I'm your special guest host for this week, or non-traditional host. My name is John Paul Weber. You might know me better online as the comic strip critic. We got Hell in a Cell coming up in just a couple days, and so we got predictions for that, along with a discussion about how Enzo Amore might be changing to face the Cruiserweight division for better or ill. It's part of our roundtable discussion. Like I said, my name's John, and with me here today are my usual co-hosts, Chris Rowdy C. Moore.
Yo and hello, all my rowdy friends!
And CT DukeCT. Good to see you here, man.
Nice reversal. It is DukeCT, also host of many other things, a podcast of the DukeCT Lounge, and also Last Review of Standing and other things, and stuff like that to keep myself occupied. So how are you doing, gentlemen?
All good, great as always.
I'm doing quite well myself. I saw No Mercy with a group of people, and it's like 2-3 minutes here, real quick. Your general thoughts on No Mercy, gentlemen?
Yeah, it was brought a lot, very exciting and some good stuff coming out of that. Of course, I'm already looking to the future because I'm getting stuff from, getting messages from our other colleague Jared Rosenfeld just yesterday that he's telling me I've got to find a way to go down to Houston for NXT TakeOver before Survivor Series, and maybe we might briefly talk about that as well because of the supposed breaking news that came out last night, actually, in regards to what's going to happen at that NXT event.
I must have missed something, but we'll hold up on that.
Yeah.
DukeCT, your thoughts on No Mercy?
No Mercy, it started interesting. I didn't watch the full pay-per-view because, honestly, I didn't have much love to it. Only had a couple matches that I was really looking forward to. I was looking for Bram and Brock Lesnar, which it was good, but at the end of the day, the way it ended, it was like, okay. Cesaro and his craziness, almost losing his teeth, getting his teeth just right into his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
That was like, holy crap. And continuing and doing this one move, which is something, if you want to get into that one move that's supposed to end the match. That nice move, I thought that was going to be it, and they're going to get the time bounce, but then they continued on, which, I'm like, again, it just, they don't know how to finish, WWE does not care about big finishes anymore, big crescendo, just keep going higher and higher until people just lose interest. But overall, I thought it was an okay pay-per-view. Wasn't the worst of all time, but it was okay.
Yeah,
I'm on the same opinion. I thought that No Mercy's first half was generally really, really good. I thought the tag team match for the titles was the match of the night. I was a little disappointed by Cena and Reigns. It kind of started off slow. The tag team match was bad at the moment, but in retrospect, we're going to get into this, so we'll come back to that. But I have kind of the opposite opinion of you when it comes to the Strowman-Lesnar match. I thought it started off really weak and never really picked up steam, which is, I just felt disappointed by the whole thing. So did the entire group I was watching it with.
Yeah,
So that's my perspective.
Yeah, even I will admit, probably the title match kind of came off as a disappointment, and perhaps revealed that maybe, just maybe, Braun Strowman might not be able to carry a match by himself on a main event situation. It just seems like it seems like they were going the same direction that they tried at Great Balls of Fire with Samoa Joe, but Joe just seemed to pull it off better even in defeat. And
I think at the end of the day, it's about experience. Strowman is not experienced as Joe, but honestly, I think, in my personal opinion, Braun Strowman should not have gotten that title shot. I think I honestly think a good run for the Intercontinental title for him would have done wonders for him. I think he goes after, for example, after SummerSlam. The man says, I defended it, and then Braun Strowman comes out, and this, that, the other, you have him take a match with him, and, he beats Miz easily. Next match, he gets himself disqualified, and Turner says, next up, you will have, next match is for the Intercontinental, will be a street fight for the Intercontinental Championship at, at No Mercy. And Strowman destroys the Mr. Rogers handily. And just becomes Intercontinental Champion and just runs a rush shot until someone beats him at WrestleMania, like, say, Apollo Crews, Titus Worldwide, which I have no idea why WWE just seems to kill that thing. It just seems like they take things which getting a little bit of momentum, and now they're just going to break them apart because why not?
Yeah, as far as your idea about Strowman, I will say I'm not so sure that just given the fact that how good Strowman did look in the Fatal 4-Way at SummerSlam, I really don't think they had any choice but to give him a world title shot. The bad thing is I just didn't like the idea of I don't think he's good enough to be a champion yet, but he had to get into that match, and the idea was just how you find a way to at least somewhat make him look somewhat dominant, but still allow Brock to retain for now, and they kind of did it, but it just kind of came off as a bit blah. Now Strowman's almost like in a tweener situation, almost. Just the fact that, yeah, he's still this big, hulking, destructive bully of a brute, but then you have him do something like what happened in that post-show event with Enzo and the Cruiserweights the very night after, which I'm sure we might be getting into very shortly.
Yes, we will. You're absolutely right. It kind of felt like they didn't have a choice left except to throw Strowman at Lesnar. And even if that was the case, I think you could still have had Lesnar walk away with a better scenario than what happened.
Yeah, and also you can't... I'm sorry, but...
Because the match at SummerSlam, Lesnar got put through, I think it was 2 tables and had a third dropped on him. Maybe he only got put through the 1. Got ambulance out and then came back. So you had this match where you had this potential for, destruction and mayhem, and the match stayed in the ring the whole time, and it just felt really slow and sluggish. For this match that was hyped as being between the Beast and the Monster among men, it was, they sort of stumbled around the ring in a Kimura lock for what felt like 2 minutes. Along with probably, honestly, I think the weakest looking F5 that I personally have ever seen from Lesnar. So,
and given the guy's F5 the Big Show in the past, that's kind of saying something. That's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, but I think Brock is up there, and also I think Strowman, is a big. He's a big monster, man. He could, he is big.
Oh no, absolutely.
And the Kimura stuff, I actually kind of see the point of the story in the match. Like Brock Lesnar can't take him to Suplex City because Suplex City he just gets back up and just destroys him. So he's like, I'm going with the Kimura. I got to do everything else to beat him. And I think you can play in that weak F5. You can also play that in because Brock Lesnar was exhausted by those big power slams just over and over again. And that F5, well, combined with the Kimura locks and the suplexes, it just became too much for Strowman. And also, you have to look into the fact that they're building up Roman versus Lesnar.
Yes, that's something else that we could spend time on. And I think that's a lot of people's fears is WWE's telegraphing WrestleMania way too far in advance, I feel. And it's going to perhaps backfire on them as poorly as it did for Mania 31 and 32.
I've had my own concerns about that as well. Yeah, just the fact that I think they might be dragging... I know that a Lesnar-Reigns match is inevitable, but almost like they're dragging out and going to be delaying it too far, especially with what the rumors I'm getting about what the Survivor Series match is. That might be another subject for a whole other time. But, yeah.
Well, oh, sorry, go on, Duke.
It is also one thing I will say about this is Strowman and all this other stuff. Lesnar, Strowman. I think there is future in that. I think hopefully they can go back to it eventually. But also Lesnar and Roman. I think they should have just pulled the trigger, have Roman beat Lesnar at WrestleMania 31, because what you have with honestly that terrible heel run with
Rollins.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was Rollins. It was a heel run that was so bad that it drove people away. To me, it drove people, and that's the thing. If you want to have someone who's a villain, which something with Enzo too, we will get to Enzo too. You have to be so mad that you want to see him get his ass beat. Rollins, I was just tired watching all of that, those matches. I was getting to a point, and quite honestly, him getting hurt was probably, I think that was probably like a saving grace because it just was worse and worse and worse. of him just lying and just continuing in this whole, well, he uses authority over and over and over again to the point you're just tired of it. And people,
I think you might really enjoy. It's a future segment that we have planned. I'm writing up a hypothetical booking situation for how I would have booked Roman Reigns' push to Mania 31, which I hope that if you are here for that episode, you really enjoy. But not. I don't want to look back towards the past too much because you mentioned it a couple times by now. We teased it, a couple times already in this episode. Enzo Amore is now the Cruiserweight champion, having dethroned King Neville off his high air with a admittedly beautiful middle rope DDT and a kick to the balls. A kick to the royal jewels, if you would prefer.
Yeah, the Guerrero finish, as I like to call it, through the whole thing, because he first tried to hit him with he tried to want to hit him with a belt, but that was just a distraction for the referee to look away, so that then he could get the low blow. That was one that just disappointed me. They had to give him something out of the late great Eddie Guerrero's playbook to end up winning. That kind of got stuck in my craw a little bit, to be perfectly honest, I'll admit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and to me, a lot of people, I'll get to why I don't like this whole, because I think I'm liking it, but the problem is with 205 Live in general, it's just the same. It's just basically, there's nothing interesting about 205 Live to begin with. Even with Enzo's mouth about that, it's just the same type of matches. And I had this criticism with Neville, and people were like, "Oh, it's great." I'm like, no. When you're champion, when Neville was champion, he was not setting them on fire. In fact, he was putting crowds to sleep. Or they were chanting, "Beach ball, beach ball." And I'm not lying. You can listen to back of the pay-per-views, him and Aries. I think it was at Baltimore. I think it was what was that Baltimore pay-per-view? It was what was it? It was a Raw pay-per-view.
Great Balls of Fire?
No,
Rules. Nah. Extreme Rules. It was Extreme Rules, I believe. And the crowd just didn't care, and it was just so boring. And it was just no one cared. No one cared. In fact, the only time I felt like they only cared for a match with him, with Neville, believe it or not, I think the only time the Cruiserweights actually cared was him and Tozawa, and him and I think it was him and Jack Gallagher back in in the winter months. Those are the only two people that actually got people to care. And when Tozawa won, it was something interesting, and WWE killed that off quickly, and now you had him lose to Enzo, and I'm like, okay, what is that going to do? It's just, and you know what? With this other heel turn, it's again another problem, is that the heels continue to dominate 205 Live. The baby faces are teethless, and not interesting, but the heels are. But yet the heels don't really draw. It's the baby faces. It's the good guys at the end of the day that draw people into, like, hey, you know what? I want to see this person. Or the heel is bad, and he's like, oh, he's not really that cool. But what is based of wrestling is that the good guy fights against all odds, and in the end, the people like that. They love to see the good guy triumph. And in 205 Live, the last baby faces, for the most part, was Rich Swann, who just danced all the time and didn't really do anything. The crowd didn't care. They were cheering for Neville because Rich Swann was just pretty much so below. Just like no one cared. It was like, oh gosh, Rich Swann just danced his way. And he has an interesting story. He's from Baltimore. He has a very interesting and uplifting. Both his parents passed away, and he had to raise up and raise to become a wrestler, and then becoming the Cruiserweight champion. And like, that's a good story. Instead, he just comes out as a dancing fool. And then you have TJ.
It very much reminds me, if you're familiar with Dean Ambrose's real life backstory. John Goodman plays Dean Ambrose, is almost exactly what you said. Where he was...
but I think he bungled that after that Steve Austin interview. I
agree. I'm gonna keep things back on track. You're right about the Cruiserweights, that people, some more in the know people really like Neville, the intensity of his character, but it, I have a friend of mine who's not a real big smart. She watches WWE very, very casually. And right in the middle of when Enzo was getting all the backstage heat for, talking too loud on his phone on the bus, I think, and cheating on Liv Morgan, congratulations to her for dumping him. She could do way better. And apparently is, because she's apparently taking a ride on Mustache Mountain, if you get my drift.
Oh.
Wow.
No, she actually is. She is going out with Tyler Bate, who is one half of Mustache Mountain.
Okay. Well, I do think you brought up, of course, the whole backstage issues that Enzo has, and I think that's really instrumental in, I think, what they're ending up trying to do here, because I've just rarely seen any instance where people have flipped back and forth between a wrestler this quickly, back all the way, because I have to go all the way back to when Enzo and Cass broke up, and there was the big heel turn for Cass, and everyone was afraid then that Enzo was going to just get completely buried. He was going to go on 205 Live, and everyone was thinking that was going to be basically a demotion for him. That was going to be horrible for Enzo. Then of course Cass gets hurt, ends up disrupting that. But then after that, all of the stories start coming out about Enzo having heat in the locker room. That I think was Roman Reigns actually kicked him out at one point in time, or kicked him off of a bus. I think it may have actually been at some point in time. And things started rolling downhill from there to the point where now they finally get him, I think, in the position they did want to, because the plan to move him to 205 Live to try and spark interest in that and the Cruiserweights. That was their plan from the beginning, but now it's a point where now everyone's starting to turn against him publicly, so they really had no choice but to turn him heel. And now it's a situation where they're thinking that putting Enzo in 205 Live is the worst thing that could happen for 205 Live and the Cruiserweights. I know that Jared he really did not like putting him in there, and and that's understandable. Rosen's really a guy I really wanted to have on this podcast for a long time. It's just kind of scheduling conflicts have been the biggest issue, but for those who are not aware, of course, Jared Rosenfeld, my co-star on Rowdy and Friends, he's also a guy, he's training to be a pro wrestler. He wants to get into PWG down there in Southern California. So that's a guy whose take I really want to get on this podcast sometime. But he really...
Best of luck to him, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I do wish him absolutely all the best. But he really kind of lost it with everything that happened, not just with 205 Live, but then that huge promo that Enzo cut as the champion the following night on Raw. He really did not like. What really got him was just the he really just got outraged at how many people thought that, and I'm guilty of this. I said this as well on Twitter, that Enzo's finally made the Cruiserweights interesting in some way. That he kind of thought it kind of ruined supposedly all the work that the other Cruiserweights had been doing. The only thing is, the question I have is, I don't want to take anything away from...
That's the story, though.
Yeah, I don't really want to take away from anything that the Cruiserweights are doing, but it does beg the question, why hasn't it been interesting enough that people have been tuning in, and why was it necessary that they would have to pull something like this to give them an Enzo Amore, and finally give them, at the very least, that one big villain that everyone can rally against, and at least for the time being, give them some reason to watch. And to his credit, it has put the Cruiserweights on Raw's final segment the last 2 weeks in a row.
And ratings have, dipped, and no one's watching that, but okay.
You can't necessarily blame that just on the Cruiserweights.
No,
the end of the hour show. We're in the Monday Night Football starting up soon. There's a whole bunch of reasons for that don't necessarily have to do with the Cruiserweights.
And the reason why I believe it, the Cruiserweights are because they are very... The matches themselves are not interesting. The matches are boring, and they're not even the good stuff. I think I was listening to Brian and Vinny today, and it's like, they say that it's the problem of what the WWE's Cruiserweights is. It's the same WWE safe style. With WCW, what they did with these Cruiserweights, people have not seen this before. Like, holy crap, this is amazing. That was the Cruiserweight style. It took a while, but to build it up. But when it was built up, it was one of the main pillars of WCW. It was the NWO. You had some old WF stars and stuff like that, but also it was the Cruiserweight division. Guys like Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko, Chris Jericho, all those guys. Who right now in 205 Live had that? No, it's that same safe style. I think someone like Tozawa, taking on, I think who he took on last week, was it last night or 2 nights ago? I don't know who he was facing, but it was like it was that run-of-the-mill boring match, and it's like it's frustrating to see these guys that could. Was it Tony Nese? I don't know, but it's just like, man, these guys could be doing great in-ring action, but yeah, people don't care. But not only that, but people, it's 205 Live. It's after SmackDown. People are leaving. People are bored because we don't want to watch more wrestling. I think they need to get out of that whole live. I think they don't need to get out. They need to get out of that whole 205 mindset. They need to do something. Move to a place that is somewhere that's like don't know, at the farm, something that gets the crowd hot.
I do think it would be better. I do think that doing 205 Live or the 205 Cruiserweight show would be better if it was a pre-show event rather than a post-show event. If they did it at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 Central, before, or at least did the matches then before SmackDown began, people might be a bit more excited to at least give it a try, to be somewhat that, they're already kind of, I don't know if it's so far of the exact hour in of itself that has the problems with the crowd reaction to 205 Live, but just the fact that the big show has already come to its conclusion, its crescendo, so to speak. So the crowd is already kind of built up for that, and they're trying to wind down from that show, and they're trying to be built back up into a completely different show. That's kind of a drain, I think, as a crowd in that form or fashion.
Agreed.
That's kind of the issue. That I think 205 Live is more like it should be an opening act on Tuesday nights for the live crowd. To be perfectly honest, in my opinion,
it gets the crowd up.
Well, they're treating 205 Live almost as an epilogue to the SmackDown story, where the Raw story. I'm sorry, where it would be better serving as an opening first third of a night.
Why not give the 205 Live the opening stuff on Raw? It's 3 hours anyway. Just say Raw Raw Cruiserweights is their first hour, 8 o'clock to 9. How about that? Instead of just doing them on their separate show on a separate island.
And they could even test that now, because if they're worried about doing it business-wise, striking while the iron's hot. Right now, this Enzo storyline is the best storyline the Cruiserweights have done basically since the Cruiserweight Classic. So, strike while that iron is hot and work with it. Enzo's got good heat. You have another big name star who's not a cruiserweight involved in that. Just Braun likes to come out sometimes and just throw Enzo around the ring like a rag doll, and that can serve as your transition. 205 Live's dropping up. Wonder how they're going to end it. Oh shoot, there's Braun. And you have Braun serve as your transition man from the one to the other.
And that's
an example.
Yeah, but another issue is oversaturation. Right now on WWE television alone, you have Monday Night Raw, that's 3 hours. Then you have SmackDown, that's another 2 hours, that's 5. 205 Live, that's 6. Then you have NXT, that's 7. You have takeovers, that's like 2+ hours. So that's like nine and a half hours. And then you have these pay-per-view events, or these live events, if you were, these WWE Network exclusives that are another 3 hours? So you have...
At least.
You have a total 11, 12... Yeah, 12 hours and 30 minutes of wrestling a week in some aspect. And that's not getting into, the other stuff. Like, say, for example, the Mae Young Classic. I didn't want to watch that because I was just oversaturated. I might have to eventually
and
watch
that's
that.
only if you follow WWE. If you follow other promotions like Ring of Honor, like CZW, like New Japan.
Progress.
I want to get into Progress sometime, and I don't have the time for that.
Yeah.
Or you're just so burnt out. I want to watch a PWG show, but I'm like, I don't want to see wrestling anymore. There's other things I can do. and it just gets to a point you're like, man, you're just done. That's what it is. You're just done.
And that's, I think, this is a whole discussion that we could have about just WWE's business and scheduling practices in general. All this oversaturation costs money, and you have to wonder if at some point they're spending more money than they're making. But on the other hand, from what I recall, last year was all-time record profits for WWE last year. So apparently what they're doing is working.
And it looks like they are, for the most part, at least trying something to spark some life into the Cruiserweights at 205 Live, not just by putting the current belt on Enzo, but of course this past Monday on Raw, that came the announcement a lot of people said was a long time coming, that Kalisto has been added to the Cruiserweights, and he will be the one challenging Enzo for the Cruiserweight title. And to be perfectly honest,
the crowd went like, yeah.
Kalisto, it's good that he's here, but he's not the must-see name that should have been added.
Perhaps.
There's no must-names. There are no must-see names, though. That's
not unless you hire in someone from the outside like Will Ospreay or Ricochet, which I don't see happening anytime ever.
It's still like people in that bubble, which is something I think Chris and I talked about. Is that it's good for the wrestling bubble, but people outside watch wrestling like, okay, who is this person? Why should I care? He was like, oh, you should got Hideo Itami. You're like, really? People would have been like, okay, who is Hideo Itami and why should we care about him?
Exactly.
It's a tricky problem. Is they need to drum up interest now, and they can't afford to spend the time and lose interest over a long-term storyline. It's a very difficult situation for them.
Absolutely. But, at the very least... At the very least, we're talking about the Cruiserweights now, so in some way, it is working, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. Right there.
Where does it go from here? Is the big question.
It starts here, but is it going to be something that will continue to grow? And I have my doubts upon that. To me, the Cruiserweight division have been messed up since they started. They should have started with 205 Live. They should have continued the story. Instead, the Raw was handled badly. Now you have 205 Live, which is goes after SmackDown, which is I don't get how you could just have Raw for Cruiserweights and such like that on the show. Why you need a separate show? I mean, it just brings on more saturation. And people are saying, "Oh, that's what you like." Well, they need to have more time for that. Like, you have a 3-hour show. SmackDown, when they had the Cruiserweight division, did have they found time. WCW found time when they had their 2 hours. You have to start looking and saying, okay, let's find some time and stuff. Instead of adding, let's see, okay, what needs to be cut. That's what WWE is problem right now. They adding, but not really subtracting. And that is going to hurt them. And it's still hurting them right now in the long run. That's why you have tarps all over goddamn places. Is that it just... they're like, we're just going to keep adding stuff. And I'm like, no, you can't add. You have to look and say, you know what? Let's have less is more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Real
quick thing before we move on real quick. Real quick thing before we move on. Kalisto's challenging. I don't think he's going to be the one to take the belt so soon off of Enzo. I think Enzo's going to hold for a little while, so at least Survivor Series. But the question is, who would you have take the belt off of Enzo? Chris, can we start with you?
Well, to be perfect...
I'm putting you under the gun here real quick.
To be perfectly honest, I actually think it's going to be Kalisto. Only just for the fact of what they've done so far from a storyline perspective, and that supposedly now everyone else in the Cruiserweight division is banned from getting a title match against Enzo because they violated that contract he got with Kurt Angle. So I think the only reason you can get another possible challenger is to take the belt off of Enzo as soon as possible, and that's just so. My guess right now is that I'm putting it out there and saying that Kalisto's gonna be the one to take it off him very soon.
Unless they call up somebody from NXT or an independent promotion somewhere, which I don't see happening.
I think this is but you know what? I have to say this is that part of me wishes that they could have just did all the Cruiserweights, just said screw it and beat that crap out of Enzo again and say, you know what, we'll just sign him 205. We like, fine. Enzo, you want me to champion? Here it is. We're going on SmackDown Live. And trust me, Dan Bryan said we're cool with us. So, hey, we're getting all our opportunities on 205 Live. See ya, Kurt. And then, I know.
I love that story, but then you're having Enzo ruling over an empty landscape. Don't agree with that, but
you have Stephanie McMahon come out like at 205 Live and stuff, and just I know people don't like that. It'll be very frustrating because I would too. But you have Stephanie come back on 205 Live, basically embarrass Enzo in the first period, just completely emasculate him.
And then she challenges for the title. She challenges for the title then.
Oh, no. And then she says she hires all of them back, eliminates this stupid thing, and then says, you know what? At TLC, you're going to defend the Cruiserweight Championship against everyone. You're going to have to fight in a Cruiserweight,
like a gauntlet or something?
The Cruiserweight Gauntlet. Yeah, Cruiserweight Gauntlet. That you, Enzo Amore, will fight everyone in the Cruiserweight division. And you set that up at TLC. Or you can make it a ladder match. Everyone in the Cruiserweight division in a ladder match.
You know what? Part of me actually would actually enjoy watching it just to see someone. Yeah, because of Enzo's history, especially with stuff like he did with people like Lana. To have someone like Stephanie come out and just kick him in the neither regions like that, so to speak. Maybe it's just me, but that would be dang fun to watch on my end.
Honestly, yeah, I love the idea of the all cruiserweight gauntlet match because you have everybody then vying for where they get in the order, and then the story becomes how long Enzo lasts. And even if you wanted to, it'd be way too soon to do it. But you could have like a bruised and exhausted Enzo still starting to eventually to come on, bring on another one, and maybe slowly start to turn him a little face. I wouldn't do it, but the potential could be there that they could accidentally stumble on. It could be. That's such a good idea. They're not going to do it because it's too good an idea, but I love it.
Yeah, well, they missed their chance. And we have Callisto, who, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's. So
Callisto's got his chance coming up, but normally, when it comes to the predictions and speculation for the upcoming pay-per-view, I'm usually the one who does that since I'm your special host for this week. I am vacating that position temporarily, my dear viewers, my dear listeners, to Chris. Chris, tell us what else coming up.
Okay, so yeah, this Sunday night, Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and our kickoff match is going to be the World's Greatest Tag Team version 2.0, otherwise known as Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable, versus the Hype Bros. And I thought they already broke up, actually. Bear with me here, because my apologies, I actually missed SmackDown this past Tuesday night, because I was on the way back from Florida, long story there. I didn't miss Raw, even though I was on the road as well, but, so I don't know so some of these matches like this, I'm not sure how it first got started, but this is one I kind of just see, because they really want to build up, I think, trying to build up Gable and Benjamin as a team. I can't help but see them getting over on this match, to be honest.
Yeah, you didn't miss much on SmackDown, by the way. I was watching the playoff baseball game, which was a lot more fun. But yeah, it's Gable, Benjamin. I don't care for pre-show matches. It's just in my world, pre-show matches don't exist. So Shelton and Chad win, and the Hype Bros finally break up. With Zack Ryder turning heel, or Mojo turning heel, or both turning heel, and they both punch each other, and they just disappear, or something like that.
All right, then.
And John?
Yeah, I have to go with the world's greatest tag team redux here. Yeah, Shelton Benjamin coming back. Chad Gable needs the momentum, and I just don't see, Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder going anywhere. Then again, Mojo Rawley did win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at this year's WrestleMania, so maybe Chad Gronkowski will run in.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it would be nice to see, might be fun to see, but I think this is the time of year where Gronk's a little busy with some things right now, although I think I read a report he's out for this game for the Patriots, actually, so, but oh well. We're moving on to, of course, the next match, the WWE pay-per-view of the glorious one, Bobby Roode taking on Dolph Ziggler. And this one, this is apparently what we've been building up with all this talk about. What admittedly I think has been a bit fun with the gimmick that Ziggler's been doing of basically trolling people against gimmicks, so to speak. And it's all been building up for him to be the one to face Bobby Roode in his first WWE pay-per-view. This has Roode winning all over it. Even though I really, yeah, and believe me, I'm liking this guy already. The first couple of matches he had on SmackDown, this is from a guy that I didn't watch a lot of him on NXT. I thought he was too old for NXT, especially to be champion for that long. But since he's come to SmackDown, I'm thinking he should have been here a year ago at least. I'm loving this guy. And I actually think he could be champion very soon on SmackDown. That's how high I've got him on.
I wouldn't say he's ready for championship status quite yet, but I do agree Bobby Roode's going over. That being said, I would love it if, to troll him, Dolph Ziggler came out first to Bobby Roode's theme song.
Oh.
But mock it up. Have it like Bobby Roode's theme song done on like kazoos or something.
Oh.
Or accordions.
Well, yeah, but it's funny how Dolph Ziggler's doing this stuff, and yeah, it's not his fault. WWE put him in these positions and they yank the stuff away from him. It's odd how they do that to their own talent sometimes. It's funny, but yet it's sad at the same time. I see Roode winning, and I think it's gonna be a decent match, and I think hopefully they build him up. I honestly wish he was the one facing Jinder Mahal at this point and throwing him, because I wouldn't mind having him being WWE champion. Heck, if Jinder Mahal's the champion, I'm saying Bobby Roode should get the shot.
I'm with Duke on this one, to be perfectly honest. I would love to have.
I understand that.
I would love to see Bobby Roode eventually be the one to take it off of Jinder. We'll just have to wait and see. In the meantime, we'll move on to Rusev versus Randy Orton's, and I guess just the one biggest question that all of us have will be: is this match going to last more than 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
think it will last longer than 30 seconds. It will reach at least a minimum of 2 minutes, and Randy will win with an RKO out of nowhere, and Rusev will just do his bland heel stick. At this point, he should leave the WWE. I know he doesn't want to leave, but he should. They've ruined Rusev. And again, the same thing with Dolph Ziggler. They have stars, and they completely, WWE just for whatever reason, like to cut their knees off of them, and then okay, we cut your knees off of you, and you make sure you're not going to be as popular. Go ahead and get some razzle dazzle and go all the way, and we're going to make you a bigger star now. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, I do think that Randy's going to win it. I would like Rusev to win it. I'll be pleasantly surprised if Rusev wins it. I'll be wanting Rusev to win it, but no, I just don't think so.
Yeah, believe me, no one would want to see them actually do something with Rusev, probably more than I have for some time, because I thought that's the one guy who's got even I will admit, has got all the potential in the world, and they just haven't been able to do anything with it. I would really like to see Rusev win this, and you know what? Just so we're not completely all in agreement, I'll roll the dice and say he does win this match. And I'm probably just getting my hopes up by saying that. Moving on to the United States Championship match. AJ Styles defending the title against Baron Corbin. And this, to me, is the one that... this might be the final example of seeing, are they going to be able to do anything with Baron Corbin? And that, even probably, a guy who probably his stock has dropped even farther than someone like Rusev, let's be honest.
Yeah. I can't agree with you on that one. I want AJ to win. I think it'd be better for his career if Corbin won, because AJ can take the loss. Don't know if Corbin can. I think they're gonna have Corbin win, but not clean as a whistle. He's gonna lowball AJ or hold on the tights or do a sneaky pin up, or there's gonna be shenanigans, I think.
Perhaps. Duke?
Well, my thing is, oh gosh, this is, Let's see. Sorry, something came up with a stupid thing. But anyway,
live, everybody.
Honestly, that's not really. But yeah, this is just going to be a completely. I think that this match right here, Baron Corbin's done. Okay, Baron Corbin is dead, like I said, and I truly wish that it was a triple threat match, him and Ty Dillinger, and such, which supposedly rumor has it might be added to it. But but yeah, you know what? Like I said before, Baron Corbin is over. It is over with him, and you will see. I will see AJ Styles win here handily. Hell, I see him tapping out to the calf crusher. I'm calling it right now. That is the finish. Baron Corbin taps out to the calf crusher.
Yeah, for me, you bring up Ty Dillinger. The only way I see Corbin going over in this match is just so if he can eventually drop it to Ty Dillinger very shortly down the line. Not 100% sure if I'm going to see that. I'm going with Duke here and suggesting that Styles is going to retain the title, and because I just don't. I think they're kind of starting to tire on Corbin as well backstage and creative, and this is one case where, yeah, I might actually agree with creative here. I think he's had the opportunity, but he just hasn't been able to do anything with it and really win over the crowd of getting pop or heat. Even as he's got the complete look to be a monster heel in the status of a Braun Strowman almost, but he just hasn't been able to do it. So this might be his last gasp, and then he might be kicked even further down the card, I think, after this match is over. In the meantime, next championship match on the night, the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Natalya defending against Charlotte Flair, in which I'm going to say right now and predict that the winner and champion, when this night is over, is going to be Carmella. I say this is when she cashes it in.
I see that coming as well, but personally, I still think Carmella should have cashed in at Money in the Bank. Would have been much more of a good storyline for her.
And I think that's and that goes back to what I was going to be saying is that we've really seen not just Carmella, but the entire women's in SmackDown just kind of being put in a holding pattern because I think that's what they planned to do, but they chickened out because of the negative immediate backlash online toward how Carmella won that first Money in the Bank match. And they've been really just struggling to try to recover from it ever since.
Yeah, I see. I see that. I do see that. And I think that's going to be... I think Carmella will come in and win. If they are going to do it, she's not going to hold everybody. I mean, the match I think is going to be good because both when they have time, Natalya and Charlotte have gotten really good to even teetering on great matches, even though the last match they had was the whole Montreal Screwjob type of match, which was just dumb. But here's hoping that they'll actually have a good match and actually do something with not just to her, but just to really build her up again. Build Charlotte and Natalya or something like that. Because at the end of the day, I think it'll be really good to see that. A nice strong women's match.
It'd be nice. I do kind of agree with Chris. I think it's either going to be Charlotte walking out or Carmella.
Yeah, I think Charlotte will win this match.
I don't think Natalya's walking out the championship.
Yeah, no. My prediction
could be wrong.
Yeah, my guess is Charlotte wins this match, and then Carmella cashes in. That's at least my take in some way, form, or fashion. It might be a pull-off of similar to what Seth Rollins did at WrestleMania 31. But yeah, one way or the other, yeah, I don't see Natalya walking out with the belt at the end of this night, one way or the other. Then moving on to our first Hell in a Cell match of the night, which is, at some point in times when we see this many matches between one team or one group or whatnot, usually we're saying they're finally getting it over, but if this is the end of it, I'm actually kind of sad to see it go, because we're having the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, The New Day versus the Usos. I don't know if this is the first time ever the Tag Team Champions have been defended in Hell in a Cell, but this could be something that could go, that could just to be all kinds of crazy, and it might be the best way to give this rivalry a big finish.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. They put on the best matches on SmackDown for a couple months now, honestly. Past 2 or 3 pay-per-views. Xavier Woods has done some amazing stuff that I haven't really seen him, I was like, holy crap, Xavier. Where have you been this whole time? You've been great now.
Yeah, far away from his TNA stuff, but then again, but yeah, it's far away from his Consequences Creed days. But you know what? It was a really good. These two teams have great chemistry with each other, and it just seems that honestly, I can't wait to see these two go at it. And if this is the final time, I think it's time to have the Usos say they traded the Usos to Raw. I think that would be actually a good way for them to, if the Usos, I think the Usos lose here, and you'll have the New Day retain those titles. And then after that, I think you have, I would say, I don't know what you do with the Fashion Files, because those guys are really good as well. Because I think those guys are going to have, I think a segment of the Fashion Files on Hell in a Cell. So yeah, I think they are going to, hopefully they'll finish that story up, and then they can move up to face the tag team championships eventually.
It's either going to be the Fashion Police or the Singh brothers, one of those two.
Yes.
I know it hurts to hear that, but they're going to get involved in there at some point.
Yeah, I'm looking at the history of Hell in a Cell, and it says a lot of this singles championships, usually single championship, this, that, the other. But there's never been there's been tag team matches in Hell in a Cell. But you have, this is the first time a tag team championship has ever been defended in the Hell in a Cell.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
This could be I think could be match of the night.
Absolutely. And so we've got Duke predicting that he thinks that New Day's going to retain. John?
I am agreeing with him. Actually, I like Duke's idea of the Usos going over to Raw for reasons over on Raw, which I won't get into right here because that's not what we're talking about right now. But I'm going to file that away in the back of my head for a potential Roman heel turn storyline.
Well, meanwhile, for me, this is such a toss-up that I'm actually going that way, and I'm flipping the coin right now to who I'm saying is going to win this thing. And it comes up tails, so I guess we're 3 for 3 saying the Usos are saying no, it's tails, so I say the Usos are going to win this match. I was going to say heads New Day, tails Usos, came up tails, so I'm going to say the Usos end up winning this match. And then wait and see who they end up facing next. So that's just, but you know what? I'm gonna say the fans are gonna win this match, for the most part.
Yes,
because that's just been what this whole battle between these two teams have been. It's been one of the best tag team feuds I've seen in a very long time, to be perfectly honest, because they just play off each other so well. Meanwhile, up to the next Hell in a Cell match, Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens. It's gonna be a pretty intense match, and it's just kind of, for me, it's a kind of question of, I think the action in the ring, just because Shane's that type that, give him credit, even at his age, he still puts out everything whenever he's in one of these things. But for me, it's just an example of, what does a win for either one of these guys do for them moving forward? Because is there truth to...
I can't answer that.
Yeah.
I can't answer that, but finish your thought.
But just the fact of... Because maybe it's just his bluster that it's not... If Kevin wins, he really does take over the show, and then who knows what not, but... Which makes me... If that's true, because like I said, I didn't watch SmackDown this past Tuesday, so I don't know if that's an official stipulation or not, or what, but if that happens, I can't help but see Shane winning this thing. But then what does that do for Kevin going forward? But for now, I'm going to predict Shane as winning this match for the moment and see what the other guys think here.
I think Owens is going to win this one and then not let up on his heel tactics, because the rumor right now is it's going to be Team Shane versus Team Owens for Survivor Series. So if that's true, the plan is, how do you build up that? Well, you build up your heel teams that you get a more satisfying victory at the Big Four pay-per-view. Meaning that Owens wins here, he looks like a big tough badass, and then Shane builds up his babyface team to cut Owens down to size, or kick him off of SmackDown back to Raw, or have him retire, quote unquote, for a couple months until he gets a big surprise comeback at the Royal Rumble, or something along those lines.
That could actually work. That could work.
You get the minor villain win here, so you get the major hero win at Survivor Series.
Well, you would act like it would work, but if but the problem with that is that you have to ask the W actually have like stipulations and actually have good storytelling and such, and I just don't trust the W to do that. I still see Kevin Owens winning, but Team Shane, Team Owens, yes, but there won't be any stipulations in the line that will make sense, because the WWE just loves their status quo. They can't, because that's the thing. It's not McMahonism, it's status quoism that they worship. So that's what is going to. There's nothing really radical and changing, and that's to me the really sad part of it. As a matter
so you're predicting. Who are you predicting then?
Owens wins, and I just see Shane McMahon doing. It will just go back and forth. I want this to be good. I want this to be earth-shattering, but at the end of the day, I just don't see anything earth-shattering of this.
Speaking of earth-shattering one way or another, let's get into the main event of the night. Round 2 of Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship. I gotta say this much. The build-up they've had to this particular match, part of me actually likes the fact that it's like they've tried to use this to bring back the so-called political incorrectness that everyone loved about the Attitude Era, and seeing it fall flat on its face. Just because the only people who have to blame for this having been such a terrible build-up are the fans themselves, who said they wanted this stuff back.
I don't know where you got that from, but then again, I speak as a new guy who wasn't around for the Attitude Era.
Yeah,
I'm hoping Nakamura wins, because he's arguably, in the past 3 years, in terms of bringing talent from around the world, aside from maybe AJ Styles, he's the biggest signing that they've done, and he was white hot in NXT, and then they booked him to fall flat on his face here. So he lost at SummerSlam because of interference. So if he loses here to Jinder Mahal twice in a row, that's Krillin punching out Goku 2 fights in a row here. And I just think if they do that, it will ruin Shinsuke for quite some time.
Well, but then again, I'm very lukewarm to Shinsuke. He hasn't wowed me on the roster yet, and that's a shame, because he has some good matches at NXT. But there needs to be something eventually to really, do anything like eventually. We will have to. The WWE has to do something. They have to do something to really change, to do something to make him interesting. Because the artist, he's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just the dialect and everything. It just doesn't really. The promos have. It's, the reason why it's been so one-sided is because Shinsuke, he's not really good at promos. And people say, people are like, you are a new fan. What do you think of Shinsuke's like promo ability? Him doing those weird faces, is that drawing you into his character?
He's not a promo guy. I agree with you. He's not a promo guy, and them trying to use regular promos on him, I think is. I knew this was going to be a problem ever since he debuted in NXT. Because the NXT crowd, who loved him to death, and the SmackDown/Raw crowds, there are 2 different crowds with 2 different tastes. NXT crowds are much more smarky. They have more of an indie-style mindset that focuses more on in-ring wrestling technical skills and storytelling. Raw and SmackDown are longer. They're much more promo-heavy, and Shinsuke is an English as a second language speaker, to be generous. And that's, therefore, but they're not doing anything to help him out that. If they gave him a manager on the microphone, like a Paul Heyman or a Lana or, anybody else, then you could cover for his weakness in there. But they haven't done that with him. And his in-ring mannerisms, you show those off over and over again. They lose their effectiveness each time. So it's such a tricky position. And I do get the sense, watching him, that he is really still holding back in the ring. Just because I remember the SummerSlam match, I was waiting all match for Shinsuke to just straight up murder a dude by Kinshasa-ing Jinder's head clean off his shoulders, almost like a Mortal Kombat fatality. And it just felt so slow. And if you go back and you watch his matches in NXT, particularly his Sami Zayn match at TakeOver Dallas, which was, it was probably one of my top 10 matches that I've seen. Excuse me. Shinsuke's being held back, and they need to let him off the leash. He's got to carry Jinder, obviously, but if the plan is to eventually maybe pit him up against AJ Styles or Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens or plenty of good talent on SmackDown, then they need to raise the stakes by putting the title on Shinsuke Nakamura, so it feels like a big deal when somemost chasing him for it. So I'm hoping Shinsuke wins.
I still say Bobby Roode should be the one to dethrone Jinder. I think I'm just very lukewarm with Shinsuke, and I think Jinder Mahal wins here, and we'll still see the same thing. But eventually, I think Jinder Mahal will lose the title. I think we'll lose it. Maybe at Survivor Series. I don't know. He'll lose it at SmackDown to Bobby Roode. I think that would actually be the best thing for him, and that Bobby Roode hold the title for at least until maybe WrestleMania, maybe in a triple threat, AJ Styles, Shinsuke, and Bobby Roode. That would be interesting because there is history there.
Yeah, I would watch that match.
That would be an interesting type of thing.
I will say this. I think both of you guys have some good points. I think probably the best situation here was, I think that Jinder retains in this thing, and what you could do after that was then possibly build up for a guy like Bobby Roode to eventually take the belt off of Jinder, and then if John wants to see a guy like Shinsuke Nakamura be able to be just let go in his in-ring ability and really show off what he can do, I think the best way you could do that is to put Shinsuke in the hunt for the United States title, where he's going up against guys like AJ Styles. He did it with Baron Corbin. There's some other guys that I think Shinsuke Nakamura could be a really good contender in the United States title picture as far as the long run goes. And so that's why I kind of think that, I kind of agree with Duke in saying that we're going to be looking at Jinder, and they're going to have to find someone to eventually take the title off of Mahal. Hopefully it is Bobby Roode, because I really, really do like that guy.
He is glorious, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's good. He's very good.
Well. Anything else? There's no.
That's pretty much the card. Matches. Yeah, I think that's the card we've got for this Sunday, which.
Yeah, that's all 8 matches there. I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff, but I'm also, which is a bad sign on WWE's part, I'm tempering my expectations somewhat, and I think that's something that can be talked about a lot too, is how fans are hoping for something, but a lot of people these days just say, but it's WWE, so we've said it here ourselves maybe half a dozen times.
It's a situation where I think they're starting to get somewhat better on developing storylines, but I think they're suffering from what Duke just said earlier. They're having to produce so much content that they're just stretching themselves thin. I really think that if they had done what they did the last time they had a brand extension and only had these brand exclusive pay-per-views bi-monthly instead of one like every month, they might be able to the quality might be a little bit better, especially as far as storytelling goes, because they wouldn't have to be building up so many stories quite so frequently. That's just the way I kind of see it. At the very least, I know I'm going to be hopefully getting up somewhat of a preview when I thought I was going to be going this Monday, but it's not Wednesday, but it's actually not till tomorrow night when I actually get to see a WWE house show for the first time ever. It's actually going to be taking place at my college's sports arena, the College Park Center at UT Arlington. I'm actually looking very much forward to this, even though I'm not even sure who all's going to be in this show. It's just something I've really wanted to mark down on my bucket list for a long time, and since it's going to be there at UTA, which has actually hosted a few TNA pay-per-view events, but now they're actually getting up to the higher level. It's something I'm looking forward to.
I actually remember seeing on your Facebook or Twitter or both earlier this week, you were saying, "I'm good." You messaged me saying, "Oh, we'll talk to you about the podcast." And we're recording right now. You said, "I'll talk to you about the podcast when I get back from this event I'm going to." About a couple hours later, you said, "Yeah, it's another day. I got there a couple of days early." Yeah.
Which means I rushed back home from Florida for nothing.
I'm so sorry, but that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I know. It's believe me, it's all I could do was laugh at myself. I schlepped my way all the way to Arlington for nothing, a town that I try to avoid now as much as possible. But that's all completely non-wrestling related stuff. That's for another topic.
Yep. I believe that's everything that we have in this episode, unless there's anything else that we need to go over real quick. Gentlemen, Chris, Duke.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just as far as the wrestling goes, I'll definitely looking forward to this house show I'm going into, and just hoping for the best with this pay-per-view, which probably is just I think at the very least it's just building up for Survivor Series. And if I put aside the money and the time, maybe I'll take up Rosen's request to go to that takeover Houston, which apparently, like we were about to say, apparently they're bringing back War Games from WCW in this.
I've read what War Games is a couple times, but I still don't understand it. I'm gonna have to watch that to understand what it is. Don't explain it to me now.
Just go on WCW and just look that stuff up. You will be amazed and interested. Yeah. And also look at stuff like World War III as well. That's your homework assignment.
That's my homework assignment. All right. Until then, I'm off doing my homework at the age of 29, having been out of college for 4.5 years now. If you want to find me elsewhere on the web, you can find me on YouTube by looking for Comic Strip Critic. I talk about newspaper comics and occasionally other newspaper comic-related things. I just did a video about the Flash Gordon movie, so you can find me there. Duke, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at youtube.com/DukeCT. You can find my podcast there as well. You can DukeCT Lounge. I also have a bit.me account, so you can see all the last review standing reviews, also Daily Motion, and pretty much it. And also, you can find my podcast on iTunes as well.
And of course, you can find all my stuff at rowdyc.com. Later on this month will be the next installment of TV Trash and Rowdy and Friends to be taken part. Of course, you can always get some of my exclusive content by supporting my Patreon at patreon.com/RowdyCProductions. Work can also be found on VidMe, some stuff on YouTube. Just Google search Rowdy C More just about anywhere, and I should be able to find just about any way you can go. That's the handle I give myself just about everywhere.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been your hosts for this episode of the Rowdy Rasslin podcast. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, all those wonderful, delightful YouTube things. And until next time, stay rowdy, my friends. Backstreet in the USA.